Hey guys, welcome back to the grand final of the Auckland GIGA Road to Glory qualifier. This match is going to be between Villains and Small Apple. Both teams have shown massive victories in the dominance over the teams they've beaten today, and this is going to be a matchup for the whole week. It's a best of three, of course, and the winning team moves into the Road to Glory itself, which is another qualifier for the Oceanic Regional Finals. Today, casting this game is myself, I am Smite, and casting with me is Coldblood.
Good day, Smite. Hello, everyone. Excited to be here for a best of three. See who is the top team in New Zealand. Is unfortunately first place are AFK lost out to Small Apple, so they're probably gone away from their keyboards before their bronze match against JJN. But yeah, into the Villains versus Small Apple already. The Alistair being let through. Now that's it can go support, and it is actually fairly strong in support. So it's kind of a versatile pick. First up for Villains.
And Alistair, ever since the nerf to his auto attack weave during the headbutt, he's been moved a little bit more to the support role rather than the top lane role. Doesn't just get that free auto attack every time headbutt is up in the top lane, so likely to be in the support role, but hard to tell right now. Regardless, though, a very, very strong champion and definitely worthy of that first pick. Although they did leave some champions up, and one of those is Brown, which Small Apple are not going to hesitate to take, but at the same time, going ahead to pick up Aurelia.
Okay, so if it were Alistair versus Aurelia, it's a bit of a double-edged sword because Ali, he's not going to lose that lane, but Aurelia is going to be able to farm with ease because of what you mentioned before. The headbutt punch is no longer possible, so he can still, gank assist very well, but I'm imagining it's going to be a support one, as you see the Corki and the Lee Sin quickly following those up. Lee Sin was banned against Insane in the previous game that we cast, and sorry, not Insane, it was Dolphs in the jungle, and we're about to find out why it was banned.
Absolutely, and also that Corki really does suggest that it's going to be a support Alistair. Those two champions just really mesh very well together, especially if Alistair can connect that headbutt pulverize combo onto Trist, just delaying that rocket jump a little bit longer, and Corki can really capitalize on a lot of crowd control that many supports bring, because Valkyrie just gets him so close up, gets the damage he needs off right away. And there's very little that Brown can actually do to stop Alistair from pulling off those combos. I mean, he can block all the projectiles he wants from Corki, but not going to be blocking Alistair himself.
Can't block if headbutt throws you behind the AD carry. Not doing much back there.
Unless you stand behind me. But at the same time, they move away from that Trist pick, though, and go for Cogmore.
So Cog has a little bit more dueling at the level 6 point against the Cork. He's not going to get bullied out quite as hard. And then with the Braum, it means that Cogmore can be protected because his damage output is definitely one of the highest at the latest stages of the game. He's just a lot more vulnerable than the Tristan. He doesn't have the cleanup potential, but he can sit there and melt, and Braum will allow him to do so. And then Vi is such a threat in the fights that they're not going to be able to focus Cog as easily as they may like. Corki, one of the better picks against Vi. He's not as vulnerable as, say, like a Draven or something like that to her. But if we have this Orianna lock-in, Vi and Ori together, almost as obnoxious as the Vi Yasuo combo. And we got the double AP coming out from the villain, so it means we will have a cow down the bottom lane, along with the little moustache man.
I would not call that little, but yeah. Oh, right, no, you're talking about Corki, right, not Brown. Brown's not
no.
little.
Brown's the big moustache man.
Anyway, you talk about the magic damage that comes out from villains, and Corki definitely adds to that as well. So any kind of magic resist that does come out for Small Apple will really counter most of the damage that's coming from villains. And something like a Locket of the Iron Solara can really block a lot of the damage. And these guys don't have a lot of They've got a mix of single target damage and AoE damage, so the fact that they don't focus too much on single target damage does help out with Locket of the Iron Solaric. It can really block a lot of the combos that they can pull out. But speaking of combos, I mean, you talked about the Vi and Oriana. It's like you said, it doesn't affect Corki as much, but can really jump on a lot. Like basically any target, because those guys are all fairly close range to deal the damage, which is really going to put them all together and make that shockwave combo that much more deadly.
But in saying that, if they jump on the cog, it's going to be difficult to peel for him. They do have a fair bit of CC. I mean, Brom and Vi have a fair bit in their kits. Oriana can shockwave off of him. And there's multiple threats coming out. Well, actually, both sides is fair to say that there's multiple threats. But for the side of Small Apple, I mean, the Vi, she does decent damage even without going, Triforce Brutalizer. Oriana does a lot. Aurelia, she, as it gets to the late game, she falls off a little bit, but still incredibly powerful. Really up there in the scaling of the top laners, although she's against one of the even stronger scaling top laners. It's going to be difficult for her in early on in the laning phase. Rise is obnoxious as heck with against melee, but when she can close the gap, he's not going to be too strong against her because he wants to get the Tear and the Rod of Ages early on. Getting the Glacial Shroud will be further down the track, whereas Aurelia, once she gets to about 7, 8, 9, really hits that spike where she may be able to punish her eyes, particularly if the Assault and Battery comes in from VSOP. So the top lane, they both want to reach that mid to, well, I mean, Aurelia wants to reach mid and Rise wants to reach the late game. And both of them are going to be able to farm, I feel.
Yeah, definitely. And down on the bot lane as well, you've got Braum and Kog'Maw, which just synergize very well with each other because you've got the passive concussive blows that comes out from Braum, and Kog'Maw, once he does activate the Bioarcane Barrage, he can just sit really far back and proc it. And against close range champions like Corki and Alistair, Cog really can excel at kiting them away. He's just got to be careful with any stepping out of position. Cannot afford to make one misstep because Alistair will be on that in a second and knocking him up immediately, and then Corki follows up with so much damage. And if you just happen to be being ganked by Dolphs at the same time, then that's going to be a kill over to the enemy marksman.
You got to keep in mind that Kog'Maw's base HP got nerfed. He is squishier, which is fair enough because that's the trade-off he makes for his late game power. So he's even more vulnerable to just the outrageous burst that can come out of our blue side. But Braum definitely one of the best peelers with, like you say, the concussive blows, the Winter's Bite, and the Glacial Fissure. The Kassadin versus Oriana in the mid. What are we thinking about that one?
Before level 6, I definitely would put it in Shiv's favor. Oriana just has that range advantage and can really punish Pleasy every time he goes for any kind of farm. But once level 6 does come around, if Pleasy hasn't been bullied out of lane too hard, then he can really start to get that harass down. But if Shiv plays safe and focuses more on wave clear than harassing Pleasy out of lane, then Shiv will be able to roam, but more importantly, Pleasy won't be able to roam.
Yeah, if he gets shoved into the tower. It's interesting that the summoner spell choice is both Ignite, because in the first game of a series, normally the teams want to play rather conservatively. So it's interesting that they both take Ignite when they're facing opponents that can really lay the smackdown on them. So, I mean, normally you see a teleport from Kassadin and like a barrier or a heal or even exhaust on Oriana, but maybe these teams are so momentum based that they're trying to get the mid lane going with those ignites. So we could see some jungler camps, some jungler tents set up in the mid for both of these teams, and both junglers very strong ganking early on as well.
Yeah, and it definitely goes in the favor of Dolphs as well. If you can get in there and get the ganks onto Shiv, who maybe being a little bit overconfident before level 6 comes around, because, like I said before, he has the advantage, could really harass Pleasy out of the lane. But the second that Dolphs comes in and capitalizes on that overconfidence, then Shiv will really pay for it. And if Kassadin gets going, oh boy, does he get going.
definitely. But he has, been toned down multiple times. I'd say at least a dozen times over his career. So he's not as hard to deal with as possible. But with the immobility of the damage of our small apple side, if he gets going, like you say, he will come at like a truck or like a wrecking ball. We'll introduce our teams representing villains once again. Dolphs on the Muay Thai Lee Sin. We have Dan Dane at the top. We've seen his prowess on Maokai. How does he go on the a little bit more of a carry, tanky carry that is. Insane will be Alistair having a laugh with OMG Fudges on the Dragon Wing Corky, where he shoots out the fireworks, and rounding out villains Pleasy and the mid lane is Cassidon.
And because we're not going to see any kind of invades in this game, let me introduce to you Team Small Apple over on the red team. We've got Forever Together on Aurelia way up in the top lane, and Oh My God New playing Braum in the bot lane with his buddy AT Blue Cogmore, and Vsop on Vi, and Shiv on Oriana in the mid lane.
Okay, so you can see the way these teams spread out is a little bit of that the mindset that I talked about before, where they don't want to overstep and make big mistakes in a best of 3 series, because Kiwi teams are so aggressive that they can take that momentum they get from a first game and drive it to you in the second one. So fairly conservative start. We've actually got the a 1v2 swap from villains, so they do not want to go up against that Cogmore Braum lane like you talked about before, which means that Aurelia is going to be behind because she's trying to get to Vsop to get some kind of XP, whereas Ryze is already halfway to level 2, and there's actually an invade going to be going down here. Forever Together, I don't think she may have just caught a glimpse of Lee Sin. But,
I don't think so.
No. Aurelia's going to go in, throws out the stun, which is the Equilibrium Strike, and just her flash blown for that. Oh, the flash was blown from Alistair as well, so flash for flash, but they zone Vi off of the red, and we've seen how good villains are at really being aggressive in the enemy jungle, so we'll have to see how Vsop will respond to this.
And the important thing to notice about this lane swap is, of course, there weren't any deep wards gained by Small Apple. They didn't get the vision they needed to see that the lane swap was happening. So, the gank in the mid lane, not quite connecting that Sonic Wave. But Dan Dian was able to follow around his jungler, get a little bit of XP, whereas Forever Together was just a little bit late to that party. So, going to be a bit behind in that sense. Also, losing out their own jungle really hurt them as well. And Corky just getting a lot of free farm as well.
Yeah, although he's getting out-farmed by the Cog at the moment. It's interesting that Small Apple have decided to push this bottom lane up, which means they're not going to be able to freeze it. Insane, he does not have flash. Massive Pulverize. That may actually save his life there. There's the flash in the Winter Spite. That will be him going down for sure. And it is Vi who picks up the hit. First blood over to Vsop on Small Apples. And they're in prime position to start pushing this bottom lane, which, as I said before, they've opted not to freeze. So Ryze could potentially get XP down here, but against these four... No, are they going to set up the freeze again? What do you think they should be doing here, Smite?
Well, ideally, they should be shoving down that lane or going for the dragon, which is exactly what they're doing. If they can juggle the aggro well enough to the LCS Pro levels with the micro, they can easily take this dragon down, although AT Blue is not in trouble anymore because he dodged it with a flash.
Okay. So, dragon will be going over to our red team. If they don't get executed, that would kind of suck. And Cogmore managed to get a bit of farm down on the bot as well while it was happening, so he will be leagues ahead of the Corky. Actually, no, he's only about 70 gold ahead of Corky because of the farm picked up. And OMG Fudges trying to freeze, but it is starting to push in his favor. And we could see Aurelia TP up there at any point. She's only level 1 though. Yeah, and still only level 1. So I don't think she can TP up to this lane to get the XP, because it's such an easy dive for a Corky with his burst, and he's about to get his ult as well.
Yeah, once that level 6 happens and a level 1 Aurelia teleports into your lane, what do you think is going to happen? He's obviously going to start harassing. Look at that Phosphorus Bomb doing a lot of damage. Luckily though, there's a massive minion wave there that Forever Together will level up off once or twice, but still going to take a lot of harass. He's still going to be 2 levels behind Corky, and now it allows the marksman to just sit up there in the solo lane, getting experience, getting free farm essentially, and he's going to be having a great time up there. And also the fact that teleport's down for Forever Together, he's going to be forced out of lane even easier.
It's interesting that he didn't go for a Doran shield. That's what I personally would have gone. He's gone. He wants to get the Triforce as quickly as possible. He's being really.
That's
He's seeing red on these minion kills. He's really going for it. In the mid lane, Pleasy is having the time of his life. Despite the harass coming out, that Flask has allowed him to sustain up. And while we're talking about Flasks, Forever Together actually has a bunch of consumables, so they should be alright. Insane at the bottom lane. There will be the Flash Rune Prison onto Blue, and he will end up going down to that execute damage of Resonating Strike. Oh, sorry, the kick. What is the kick called?
Dragon's Rage, but Pleasy in the mid lane, just about dodging that ignite. One more tick takes him out for the kill, and around the bot side of the jungle, Vsop wasn't quite able to find Dolphs, who manages to get away to his own base safely.
Okay, so Orianna behind in the farm, but getting a kill is going to equal that one up. She's about 300 gold ahead, and will pick herself up the Chalice of Harmony Catalyst up for our Kassadin. Forever Together still struggling up the top. Does have one Flask charge left, and will dodge the Phosphorus Bomb, so he's doing alright. This is a strategy we see out of Cloud9 a lot that villains are employing, where they'll get their AD carry up to the top to get, and it normally is a Corki they do it on, where he's got such lane dominance that he can get, he's going to be diving under with the Valkyrie, but doesn't have any mana to throw anything. Gets the last missile. I think that was the big one. And
See,
does get the kill.
And that was also some really, really good control there, because he knew that the moment he went in, he would get hit by the Equilibrium Strike and would get stunned. He needed to not have tower aggro at that time. He held on to it, didn't auto-attack Aurelia, and didn't take any tower damage, and then got out of tower range, threw out that missile, and easily picked up the kill. And now, this level 4 Aurelia, walking back to base without a teleport, walking back to the lane without a teleport, now has to deal with Ryze, who he's level 4 as well, so it seems like something similar has been happening to him.
Yeah, he does have his tier though, so he started at scale, whereas Aurelia is very far behind. She's I'm saying momentum a lot, but she's reliant on getting a good start, as Vsop could be in trouble there. He doesn't have any tanky stats. He's going to charge up his Vault Breaker, throws out the ultimate, and looking like he could have gotten out of there, but this camp from villains is starting to pay off. There's still 200 gold behind. Vsop going to pick up the Spirit of the Elder Lizard. Meanwhile, the bottom tower does go down. So this strategy coming out from our blue team is something that Cloud9 like to do with Corki. They set him up at the top with his lane dominance. A whole bunch of... he's taking a bit of damage down at the bot, but he does dodge the Winter's Bite and does Valkyrie out of there. So you get the Corki ahead, and Ryze and Alistair sitting at the bot. They love to get Alistair roaming around with his really strong level 2 ganks, and Ryze is alright in the lane, particularly when the Alistair, as Insane, came down to support him.
They have had to go for a trade-off though, because Cogmore hasn't had a bad time at all. He's been able to farm up quite a lot. As I was saying that though, he's dropping a little bit low, but they still can easily 2v1. In fact,
1v2 NP.
Yeah, they're just leaving Fudges down there all by himself, and he's still doing alright. Does have the rockets to farm if it does get behind. Dandian in a bit of trouble though.
Yeah, up at the top. Yeah, this is what we were talking about. She doesn't even have level 7 yet, or even her ultimate, so this Ryze could potentially be in trouble. Wouldn't be surprised to see him pick up a Catalyst and a Cloth Armor there. He gets his ultimate and is going to sustain up with the Desperate Power. There's the ultimate out of Aurelia. Will she use the ult for burst? She will indeed. And there's no flash on Ryze there. She flashes forward. She's going to be very happy with that one. And Dolphs was even coming up, so that was very opportunistic out of Forever Together.
And Vsop moving down to the bot lane as well, tried to do the flash Vault Breaker, but apparently just didn't quite connect onto Fudges, which would have resulted in a kill. Also a little unfortunate for him that his Assault and Battery just quite wasn't up yet, actually using it to try and get out of the gank that happened up in the top lane in the Tribush, but unfortunately they're not going to pick up that kill. And Fudges, he's going to get more farm, start working down this turret, and with 20 seconds until Dragon's up, getting down that bot lane turret is so important.
Yeah, 1,000 gold between the teams, but a tower and a dragon would skew that into Villain's favour. Although, as we say that... no, sorry, Bleezy's going to interrupt his recall. Teleports are available for both of the top laners. How's Aurelia... Pleasy in the mid lane gets ignited. Will he once again fall to it? I think he will. There he goes down, and the blue successfully transferred to Shiv, who is, I mean, he wasn't doing fantastic in CS, but he's starting to really dominate the lane. At the bottom lane, the flash pulverize comes out insane, and then the kick poor blue. Nothing he can do about that as being, he's a tennis ball at this point. As Fudge's, that Winter's Bite almost put him in range of the Acathian surprise, and we have the Orianna coming down. Does not have Shockwave because of that kill, but this is very back and forth, Smite, which is great to see.
Yeah, unfortunately for Villains, they can't go ahead and take that dragon. Danjian dropping a little bit low, but Aurelia has been sent to Rune Prison, but he might turn around and go for this.
Yeah, they're going to have to back away from each other. They've got to respect each other's damage at this point. Particularly with the Sheen out earlier, that the Blade Surge with the He-10 style active is a bit dangerous. But then if you close the gap on Ryze, his Spell Flux is going to bounce and he's going to burst you down. So, well, I say they're going to have to respect each other, but they look like they want to fight Dandine, trying to zone her out a bit. He's still winning on the CS. As we have Pleasy may get caught out here, does have the Rift walk up in a second. Glacial Fissure goes out. It is a fantastic one, and now we have the Aurelia coming in at about half HP. As Dandane is forced to flash out. Volt Breaker intercepted by Dolphs, and then he flashes away, but Blue comes in with the Bio Arcane Barrage. Insane will take down Shiv, and the AD carries cleaning up each other's team, and now they're in a bit of a 1v1 Black Ops. And it looks like Villains are going to come out ahead in this one and try and hunt down the Void Puppy.
Wow, and that was a misstep by Villains as well. They hung around the dragon a little bit too long, engaged before their team was there, and they still managed to win the fight simply because no one turned around to deal with AT. He still gets executed. And he's gonna get the damage as well. But no one turned around and dealt with, oh my god, Fudges, who's got a Sheen, he's got a Phage, so he's doing a lot of damage to your back.
I think that was the problem.
Yeah, the no Shockwave as well didn't help either. But just the fact that no one turned around to deal with, oh my god, Fudges really did manage to turn it around, and the flank from it as well. Really helped out Villains there. And they were almost in a good position to take that dragon, but instead went for the chase on Cogmore, which resulted in just an execution.
They got a bit of XP from it, but not a whole lot of... It's funny that the AD carry called Blue had Blue as he was running. I found that funny. It's, so this dragon will get contested, but not too badly. Assault and Battery not available. This is the point with the Lee Sin changes, with the attack speed slow, a lot of his utility is going to be gone. He's going to become a bit of a glorified peeler at this point, whereas Vi is still going to be very relevant with that Assault and Battery. So I feel like the purple side are going to take this mid-game if Small Apple decide to run with their strengths. They almost have the Assault and Battery and the Glacial Fissure up. They do have Shockwave if they wanted to set something up here, but the disengage from Villains is actually very strong. You've got, I mean, Alistair, no one has to say out good. He is a controlling a fight. But they've got the Force Pulse of Kassadin, which is a massive slow. You've got Lee Sin with the kick, and then Ryze is able to bind someone up. Not the best, but Villains, they've got the capability to control these fights, and it's going to be down to Small Apples to find an opening and run with it, because until... they're falling into a bit of a slump coming into the late game until COG gets some more items, particularly with he's not had the best start, so it's going to be down to Villains to use that power of the Orianna via Aurelia.
And this is an important time for Villains to start doing something, because they've got Trinity Force on Corki, whereas Cogmore doesn't have his. This Vault Break, it may go in the face. No, they're not going to go in just yet. These teleports are still on cooldown, so not likely to see a 5v5 just yet. But as I say that, Delphs and Insane, they're moving up to this top lane, and, well, Forever Together, he doesn't want to have anything to do with it, so moves back as soon as he suspects anything's going on.
Yeah, that's a good game sense, actually. I think he may have seen them at the part down here, going into the red side, top part of the jungle. But that was good game sense for him to back off, and Vsop not showing great game sense here. Will he channel the Vault Breaker? Yeah, he gets Rune Prisoned up, so he's not able to channel that one. Dolphs, ward jumping over the wall into an Aurelia, has to Dragon Rage her away, and now will she be in trouble? She does not have her ultimate. She does have Flash, as the flash exhaust comes out of Insane, pops the Unbreakable Will to tank up the tower. Glacial Fissure may be able to turn this one around. They do have the Shockwave, and they will pull all three in. Dandine is ignited up, and he will get taken down. 2 kills thus far for Small Apple in exchange for the one of Vsop, who frankly should not have been there. They may get another one to please. He flashes, cannot get the last Rift Walk because the charges of the mana increase last so long. And neither of the AD carries were involved in that one. That was just overzealousness coming out of villains when they made their catch.
Yeah, and there was a few mistakes there. The first one was Dolph, trying to wall jump over the wall, got stunned up underneath the turret, so he was pretty much out of the fight from low health. And then
it was a nice idea what he was doing. He wanted to try and intercept the Vault Breaker and kick her back in, but you jump into the waiting arms of Aurelia. It's like you say, stunned under tower.
I mean, it looks good on paper, but it ultimately just took him out of the fight. And then the big thing, though, was Insane just going for that tower dive. He got the pulverized, but of course he was just going to get turned
Rude
around.
Prison at the top. Dandine used the desperate power to close the gap, and he's just going to back away. Because Vi was there. Fair enough, and she does have the Assault and Battery, so nice game sense there from Dandine. Sorry, Smite. We're still analysing the last fight.
No, I think I got it. It was mostly that Alistair tower dive. Oh my god, Fudges though looking to kill AT Blue here, but the teleport's coming out. Fudges has to flash away, and I feel like...
Oh, and he still may go down. Does not have Valkyrie for a massive amount of time. Does respectable damage to Forever Together. A fantastic teleport there. Dandane still has his up, and he opted not to join that bottom fight.
And it was just Forever Together. He's so fast. He finished that Trinity Force and managed to use the reset on Blade Surge to really close the gap onto Corki, who offensively used Valkyrie. Vsop's going to walk into the cow.
I've seen this before. He will get knocked up, and I don't think he'll be able to Vault Break out of this one. Actually, Assault and Batteries onto Dandane, and the Shockwave follows up. Not the most efficient one. Talisman of Ascension popped by our blue team in this 3v4, and I think that will be enough for them to get out. So... what cooldowns were used there? Assault and Battery, Unbreakable Will, and Dragon's Rage.
And Shockwave, which is a big one. We saw how well it turned the fight around about 2 minutes ago. And now it's going to be down for the Siege that's coming out. Now, they don't have the biggest Siege power. Corki, not the longest range AD carry, but he can put down the poke underneath the turret. But he's not even there, so he's going to sit down in the bot lane, start pushing it up. So there's really not a lot of tower pressure that's going to come out of the team, especially without their AD carry.
I mean, the blue side, Small Apples, they're villains. They've got a fair few ways to circumvent the tower damage with Unbreakable Will. Lee Sin and Rise are going to start to get tanky, but at this point in time, particularly with Unbreakable Will down, they have to respect their lack of siege like you were talking about. They've got good burst on the tower, but Forever Together up at the top. Blade Surge has a couple seconds left on the cooldown. Equilibrium, sure. Okay, yeah, definitely has to respect that Rune Prison, which actually wasn't up until now.
Yeah, he did see Pleasy coming up as well, but I'm just surprised he didn't go. But he's still on the chase right now, and at the same time, Insane in the mid lane. Forever Together, though, gonna get hit by the Ignite, and Pleasy gonna be really happy with how that goes. Oh, no, maybe not!
Oh, last Rift Walk, I don't think he has the mana. Oh, wow, both the top laners get out by the skin of their teeth. Jeez,
that's gotta be painful for Pleasy.
Wow,
so upset.
Gold.
Wow, absolutely 100% even, but Villain's looking to change that up right now, but might get collapsed upon by Small Apple as they notice what's going on. They can't continue the dragon, they have to back off. Gotta respect that Shockwave that is available. It's a 4v3, but here comes the teleport. Wow, this is brave.
Protecting the pink board there, Rise will be coming in. There is the flash engaged from Alistair. Shockwave only hits Insane though, 1-for-1 thus far. Rise and Oriana have both gone down. Insane going in there. Cogmore with the double kill thanks to that concussive blows. Pleasy deletes the Void Puppy, and now this could be dangerous. Fudges takes a lot of damage from the Acathian Surprise, and Will, he actually gets flash bonked on the head by Braum there. A 2-for-4 in the favor of Small Apples, because the blue team went for that dragon. It would have been their first one of the game, and they're just going to donate it over to the other side.
Yep, absolutely.
Unless Insane has something to say about it.
I think he might have something to say. Whether it's heard or not, it will be important. I don't think he's going to be able to steal it off the smite. But that fight was just so ballsy coming out from villains. They teleported the Rise, who at 20 minutes into the game is just not very tanky yet. And so he died pretty quickly, and then it shortly became a 4v4. But Small Apple, they had Forever together on his way, and he eventually got there and turned the fight around. And that's why they were able to win and then take out the dragon.
Yeah, the mid-game earlier so strong. Going to go for the Hex Drinker, which is a really smart choice. Oh, actually, maybe just Merc Treads and Bork. I'll have to see what she goes for. I like the Hex Drinker, though, against the... we talked about it before, yeah, it is the Mercury Treads in the end. But the magic damage burst out of our blue side is where a lot of their damage is coming out at the moment. And the itemization of Small Apples is looking pretty good at the moment. Although no one is working on the Aegis, or the Locket of the Iron Solari, which we talked about in the lobby, which may be a mistake. We have Dan Dane up the top. He's getting burst down by the Cogmore, manages to avoid that last living artillery, but will get taken down in the end. And I mean, Cogmore, he's supposed to be in a slump right now, but he's quickly accelerating out of it.
Ooh, this could be an opportunity here for Small Apple. They've got Aurelia down in the bot lane. Teleport about to come off cooldown, so they could force a fight here that villains think might be even. Uh-oh, but Blue, he's been caught out.
That was a nice flash, and now the stand behind me to try and protect him. Nice flash, and the headbutt to get him into the fight, but he may be protected. Insane, I don't think he can take him down. Shockwave will end up missing. Getting chased by Insane. There's the Pulverize. It should be able to punch the Void Puppy, and Braum with a double kill. Fudges blows his heel to try and get out of there, but the concussive blows will lock him up. Don't know about the Assault and Battery there. Oriana's going to get the last hit, and Aurelia was not even involved in that fight at all.
So he gets to push down the bot lane turret, and at the same time, the teleport has come up. Can arrive up to this fight at any time, and this fight is happening now.
Stand behind me. I guess it worked out in the end, but not facing the optimal position. Shiv is fairly slow with the boots of speed, but is...
Here comes the teleport!
Oh, here's the TP coming in from Aurelia. Now Dan Dane may be in trouble. Gets slowed by the Equilibrium Strike. Will end up falling. This Braum has balls of steel. Chasing down Insane, who does not have the ultimate, has exhaust. He's going to try and headbutt to the minions, but gets the Pulverize. Is he trying to set them? He's wasting a lot of time, which could set up for the turnaround. Pleasey coming in, does have the slow available, will go in and burst down the Braum. Flash comes out of Kassadin. Now Dolls comes in, but it is ill-advised. Pleasey goes in with Riftwalk, can take down the Oriana, but is ignited up and will end up falling. Meanwhile, the mid T1 falls to blue, as Fudges can do nothing to defend that. And when all is said and done, Small Apples are starting to look really good.
And they're still up on that top lane after about 2-3 minutes of just straight up fighting up there. They finally take down that turret, and they're going to head back to base. These guys that have been surviving this whole fight are going to have a lot of gold, and they're going to come back with so much more power than before. This dragon is still a little while away, so they aren't able to just go and straight up force a fight down there, but it's really looking like Small Apple are excelling at these team fights, and a lot of the power is coming out from that Braum, Oriana, and Vi all comboing together.
Yeah, and like we said before, they've got multiple threats with the Aurelia, the Cog, and Oriana, she's about to finish her Void Staff. At that point, she's going to be demolishing anyone who gets caught in that Shockwave. I don't care what your name is. As the Archangels will be finished by Rise. Blade of the Ruin King on the Cog. He's hit his 2-item spike. Gets a couple of longswords as well. As... our red team being quite aggressive. I think they may... No, they didn't steal the red away. And, I mean, once Kassadin gets the Hourglass, which he's getting close to, he may be able to initiate fights a little bit better. But the initiation from the blue side is really starting to weaken.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it'll be nicer, like you said, once that Hourglass is picked up, but just not to the level of Small Apple. I mean, nothing beats Vi Initiate, especially when she's got the ball on top of her. So, really Small Apple looking to go for these team fights, and with the teleport, every time it comes up, Forever Together is able to split push, and we've seen him doing that so far in the game. But half the time, he's not even needed in the fights. These 4 members of Small Apple in the mid lane right now have already been winning fights currently.
Well, there is a big power spike on Rise with the Archangel Staff. He gets a whole bunch of AP from that one. We'll probably go into the Glacial Shroud next. Pleasey goes in, gets a 4-man slow. Nice Pulverize as well to follow up. Assault Battery used on Dolphs. It's a fair bit of CC used on the Lee Sin. Fudges gets shockwaved in, and that may be him dying. Braum flashes in, gets the last hit for the Ignite to take him down. Dandane has come in and has a decent bit of damage, as Blue's going to be chasing down Pleasey. Living Artillery will take that one down. 3 for 1 thus far. May not be done. Nice knockback from Insane, and Vsop cannot get in range. Actually may pay for his overzealousness. Snow will escape. And the villains are just starting to fall to pieces a little bit. Dane is getting burst down, has no resistances at all. And unstoppable is this Aurelia, who had such a terrible start. Which wasn't her fault. against a Corki, there's not a lot you can do.
Yeah, and it's exactly what we were just talking about a minute ago, where the initiation power from villains just isn't any good. Kassadin even had Zonia's Hourglass, and it didn't work out. They went in and just got completely counter-engaged on, because Small Apple, they know, well, we initiate fights better, we team fight better, now we don't even have to worry about initiating. They've got all that extra power they can add into the team fight, and it really showed out there as well. And now that Blue is really scaling into the late game, he's got his Trinity Force, he's got his Blade of the Ruined King. You compare those items to what, oh my god, Fudges has, and it's just incredible. And look, he's proving it now.
Yeah. It's the mid-game AD carry versus the late-game one. Dolph's coming in. There's no attack speed slow. Kicks Blue into the wall. It's going to do a lot of damage to go with him. Fudges, can he possibly get away? Throws out the heal, and it will give him enough HP to live through the explosion of Cogmore as Cog picks up his last switch. So well played by villains there. And we have to keep in mind that Dandane at the top probably going to be going down. I was just going to talk about the dual AP of villains. They went for the investment build with the Rod of Ages, so they're going to start peaking out soon. But, geez, look at this damage from Braum.
Yeah, really going toe-to-toe with Fleazy there. Now they're in a good position to start mowing down this turret. They don't have Blue, which is pretty important for taking down these turrets, but they've got plenty of wave clear from Orianna. They've got plenty of attack damage from Aurelia. And just look at this. Villains are just too scared to engage on them.
Yeah, well, they've got some alright AoE CC in the Alistair, and the Dragon's Rage Forever Together going in. That is a shockwave under the Alistair, and the Corki. Assault and Battery used on Corki as well, going to try and Valkyrie away. Pleasey peeling as best he can. They don't go down. Shiv will take down Rise. Dolphs should be falling as well. Pleasey takes down the Orianna. 3 for 1 thus far. As I don't know if this dive can continue. Forever Together is falling quite low. He's going to try and dive on the tower. He does indeed. He's going to get away with it as well. Triple kill for the Brorelia. There's a bunch of wards going down from Vsop. Not quite sure what that one's about. And interesting, the Sightstone on the Vi as well. And this should open up the tier 3. Look at the Cog, completely untouched.
Yeah, and funny story about that, actually. I mean, we've heard this before, but that was a 4v5. That was Small Apple, with the disadvantage in numbers still coming out on top, diving into the enemy inhibitor turrets, and now because of that victory, they've got an untouched Cogmore. Like you just said, they can start mowing down this Baron, Cogmore doing ridiculous amounts of damage to it, and there's going to be zero contests coming out from villains. So now that they're going to have Baron, they're already winning fights, they're already taking down turrets. There's very little that villains can do about this.
Yeah, they're going to have to get some bull security wards up, which, I mean, look at their vision is fantastic around their own jungle. It's exactly what they need. They need the Kassadin and the Rise to start scaling up. They've got that power of the Triforce and Sorkshoe's Corki, which is starting to become less and less effective as the HP pools of his opponents go up. But he still does very respectable damage if he's not under threat. So they've got to try and use that linchpin to let Kassadin and Rise continue to scale. We need to see a Frozen Heart on the Rise and a Negatron Cloak. Oh, Forever Together. Banshee's Veil will absorb that Sonic Wave. He's going to throw out the Transcendent Blades, gets jumped on. CC takes absolutely no damage from any of that. And that will be a 3v1 go the way of the one. Your villains, they need to start getting some gold onto the Kassadin and the Rise at this point. As Fudges is trying to create some room for his team by pushing at the top to get them away from that tower. None of the inhibitor turrets or inhibitors actually went down. It was the T2 that went down in the last fight, so they've still got that last line of defense between them and their Nexus turrets, and they're really going to have to use it well here. As Fudges, there's a 1v1 called in the chat. He's going to try and Valkyrie away from the Acathian Surprise and does manage to do so. Was a 1v1 with a Kassadin involved. Meanwhile, the bot Alistair falls to the Orianna. Looks like Aurelia was not involved in that, and this may be the T3 already breached.
Yeah, and they can easily follow it up by taking the inhibitor. There's very little the villains can do to
battery and Shockwave. Fleazy gets jumped on. He's going to try and rift walk out. Glacial Fish goes down, doesn't do a whole heck of a lot. Dandine gets assault and buried and deleted by the dissonance of Orianna. As a Shockwave goes off, hits Dolph's Hexdrinker, will not save him. Fleazy gets jumped on. Red buff will not take him down, but the inhibitor ends up falling, even with Cogmore going down at the top. As has been the story for the most of this game, Small Apples take what they have and they run with it. Fudges is up and they've got to respect that damage, but Aurelia and Braum very tanky. They're going to be going in. Nice pulverized. Pleasey will follow the Hourglass, and Fudges, it's just, he can't do anything to these brick walls, particularly when they're hiding behind the unstoppable force of Braum. As another nice pulverize comes out of Insane. He is very good at the knockups, and I think, yeah, Braum will be going down to the tower in the end. Now Dandine is home guarded in, going to take down Shiv, and this may be an overstep from our red team. Small Apple Fudges. Can he possibly escape? He does indeed. Transcendent Blade not enough to take him down. Forever Together. Raid boss deleted. I think that was the Dragon's Rage in the end. No, it wasn't. It was just a auto attack, which destroys him. Zonya's finished on Orianna. We have Randuin's finished by Braum. More action going on in the blue side. Jungle Blue is a little bit too vulnerable here. The Icathian Surprise will go off. Alistair ends up falling for his troubles. Dandine will survive. An ace for our blue team after they lose their bottom inhibitor.
And villains holding on by the skin of their teeth, losing an inhibitor like you said, but getting an ace. Now they've got a little bit of breathing room to shove up this bot lane, get those super minions as far away from the inhibitor as possible, because while Baron's not up for a little while, those inhibitors stay dead for quite a while. So the next time Baron does respawn, at the very best, for villains, their lane is going to be pushed up anyway, so they've really got to keep that out. And not to mention, if they want a team fight at any other place in the game, then they can't worry about super minions pushing into their base. They've already got enough trouble dealing with the team fight against Small Apple. Yeah, champions. Even the 5v4s trouble enough.
Yeah, so a whole bunch of gold went to Pleasy and Dandine there, our dual AP. I think Rise should easily be able to pick up a Glacial Shroud and maybe a Negatron Cloak as well when he goes back. So going to continue scaling up here. Pleasy is going for, I would think an Iceborne Gauntlet would be a nice pickup here, but he will be going for, I believe, the Death Cap to just try and delete the Cog, which may be a fair enough call. The bottom lane super minions mean that Baron is so hard to contest for our blue side, the villains. And Small Apple, can they put their boot on the throat of villains before the the Kassadin and the Rise
so smart.
Yeah, the distraction Aurelia, she's going to get back to her team as well. Meanwhile, mid is going to get destroyed. Villains getting baited out of the base. The second inhibitor will fall, and they really do not want to engage this fight. But blue is a kind of low. Zonya's used, and Pleasy Blue gets caught by the Rise. A nice Glacial Fissure comes out. Forever Together takes down Dandine in the back, and there's Pleasy going down as well. Fudges is the last carry left alive, and Forever Together is just far too hard to take down at this point. No casualties for Small Apple, and this may be the game right here, Smite.
Yeah, and this is going to be the first match. Oh, the Fountain Tide getting hit by right to the back. There might be a few more kills here, but I don't see any way the villains are going to win from here. Those super minions are just going to take down the base. And there we go. First victory in the best of 3 series between villains and Small Apple. Small Apple taking out the victory, well on the way to the road to glory. Remember, guys, the winner of the series moves on to the road to glory itself and leaves the other team in the dust. So we should be looking for the second game. I believe it will be up as the teams are ready to go. So we'll just have a quick look for that.
Okay, so what do we think needs to happen for the next game, Smite?
Next game, well, I feel like
if you're villains, what do you do?
Definitely rethink the
Don't
lane
make
swap.
bad late game calls.
Definitely rethink the lane swap. Deal with it a little bit better, and at the same time, don't get overconfident because they had the lead at some point. They were doing all right, and then they just got overconfident. And the turning point was really when they dived up in that top lane in a turret with Alistair going a little bit too far, and that's really where the fight turned around, especially with that 3-man shockwave that came out. So really, confidence is a big thing, and rethink who you do a 2v1 against, because sure, the rest of their team did very well, but they had to deal with a Cogmore who pretty much got free farm.
Yeah, that's very true. They've got to give a little bit more respect to the enemy team, and they've got to not send everyone to take an Aurelia down when their base is already under siege. Might be a good idea.
Absolutely. Still no sign of this next game up just yet. So we're going to go to a short break, guys, but don't go anywhere as the next game is going to come up very, very shortly. The teams are going to be itching to get back into the Summoner's Rift.